Herc, we've seen Christian Pulisic used a lot, not just at Chelsea, at Dortmund too, out wide. Yet with the national team, we've seen him in a central role. Do you think he's got a better shot getting in this Chelsea team centrally as they continue to load up on players wide?
Well, I don't know about we've seen him a lot for the U.S. men's national team in a central role. I think you've seen him in that wide playmaking role, and naturally he drifts in. His natural tendencies are to come inside. I think he's best suited outside because he doesn't limit himself to the amount of space he has. And what I mean by that is when you're outside, you have the ability to cut inside and kind of fool that defender, but you still have in him a player who has the pace and the ability within tight spaces to take somebody on one-on-one on the outside. I don't think it matters, honestly. I'm firm with this. Christian Pulisic is healthy. He's going to play. I think he's proven in the little amount of time that we've seen him that when he's healthy, he can be a very productive player. And I agree with Craig. If we're going to start worrying about every single player that's going to come in, regardless of the position, how it affects Christian, that doesn't speak highly of his mentality. That doesn't speak highly of us and the confidence we have in him. He needs to start literally fighting for everything he has like he did when he first got in Dortmund, when it wasn't just, and I'm not saying it's given to him, but right now we almost want to coddle him. We want to treat him in a certain way. Like, no, we can't mess this up for Christian Pulisic. Christian Pulisic is the good, he's the great American hope. Let's hope this doesn't happen for Christian Pulisic. No, he's got to sink or swim. And if that means Timo Werner comes in and he needs to play a different position, but he needs to stay on the field, that's what he has to do.
Greg, how important is it for Christian Pulisic at this point, just 21 years old, to be starting? Because we saw it at Dortmund. There's only really 1 year where he locked down the starting spot, had over 25 starts in the Bundesliga. Other than that, and Chelsea included, he's been in and out of every starting lineup at the club level. When should American fans say, we want this guy as a starter, if he is the great American hope?
Well, I think a starter is overused. I think, back in the day when rotation wasn't such a thing, then it was all about starting. I think it's about game time now. And I think quota of games. And as long as he is getting his quota of games, I mean, if they say, if Chelsea are playing roughly, say, 50 games a year plus, and he's only getting 10 or 15 run-outs, then clearly that's a concern. But if he's playing, a good 30, 40 times at least and having a big impact, then I don't think there's any concerns whatsoever. And I think that's how Frank Lampard sees it. When you throw Mason Mount into the mix, you throw Ziyech, you throw Pulisic, you throw Werner, you throw Hudson-Odoi, and I think he sees a front line that can be rotated. And I think that's an easier sell for players in this era than it was 15, 20 years ago, when if you were told you were getting rotated, you were getting dropped. But I think it's different now, and I don't think there should be any major concerns unless Christian Pulisic is really getting, drips and drabs and bits and pieces, 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there on the odd occasion. That's the one big concern I would have if I was a fan of the American national team.
Herc, if not now, when? When is it too late for Pulisic to be a starter?
I mean, I think Craig explained it beautifully right there. What is a starter today? I think he needs to get his minutes. He needs to be in important matches. He's at the perfect time, perfect stage in his career when he needs to prove he can be that player. He's no longer a prospect. Listen, you're not gonna spend $70+ million on a transfer or somebody you hope can be something one day. Well, you hope you get a finished product already. And if that's the case, Christian Pulisic needs to be playing in these meaningful games. So it doesn't matter about when he starts these games. It's about what kind of games he's playing and how productive he can be in said games. Listen, the Premier League is the best league in the world. He's got a lot of competition. There are a lot of cups. There are a lot of different formats they play. Him not playing or starting in our so-called 11 isn't really an issue for me. It's how productive and how good he can be in the very important games. When the lights are on, when everybody's watching, when we expect Chelsea to be at their best, is he in that 11?
What we should remember, what we should remember just briefly, is Sebi, is there's no sentiment here from Chelsea and Frank Lampard. This is big boys' rules. We've talked about that before. It's sink or swim for everybody, including the manager, because it's Champions League football. It's chasing down Liverpool. It's chasing down Man City. It's being in with the big boys in Europe. And what we should remember, and this is one of the downsides for Pulisic, where he's not going to be getting curried any favours, is that Frank Lampard didn't sign him. Right? He was a signing by the regime, and I don't even think it was by Maurizio Sarri before him. It went above his head to the sidekick of Roman Abramovich. So in terms of, any sentiment towards Christian Pulisic, there will only be that in terms of performances, because Frank Lampard will just turn around and say, well, listen, I didn't sign him, and if he's not performing for me, he's not in the team. That's crystal clear for the player.
Christian Pulisic then set to wrap up his first season in the Premier League with Chelsea next year. Looks like he could team up with Timo Werner.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.